Hello guys, Dell 304 here. I was originally going to make a video of installing Windows Vista on this Dell Inspiron 8600 I have here, but I figured that would be kind of boring. So instead, while I'm installing Service Pack 1 on this Vista installation, we are going to talk a little bit about the history of the development of Windows Vista and why it failed. So, let's just get into it. Microsoft releases Windows XP in 2001. Before that, even before Windows XP release, they were working on a version of Windows codenamed Blackcomb, and that was eventually Windows 7. Thing was, they were going to release Blackcomb after Windows XP, but all the while they were going to release Windows Longhorn in between XP and 7. The names actually make sense if you look it up. They're Blackcomb and Longhorn are like ski resorts. Longhorn is a bar between Blackcomb and the other, and Whistler, which was another mountain. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Basically, the point is they were going to release Windows Vista and then Windows 7 shortly after. That didn't actually happen, though. Windows Vista, while they were developing it, Windows Vista gained a lot of the features that were slated for Windows Blackcomb, aka Windows 7, and development took a long freaking time. Microsoft's development team really wasn't on top of their game, and they were developing this version of Windows over the course of 5 years, and in 2004, which was about halfway through the development process, they completely trashed all of their hard work that they were doing because they were losing sight of what Windows was supposed to be. It was unstable, it had a bunch of different features, they were just messing around with stuff. They didn't really have a clear direction on what the next version of Windows should be. So in 2004 they completely threw everything out. They started over with Windows Longhorn, and that eventually became Windows Vista. That was a whole nother 2 years of development, and finally they came out with Windows Vista RTM in late 2006. Now the problem with this is that Windows Vista definitely raised the system requirements quite a bit. You have to remember that in 2006, most computers were like the one you see here. They were Pentium M, single core, they had like 1, maybe 2 gigabytes of RAM. They weren't really enough to run Windows Vista. Dual core wasn't really a thing yet. Yes, I know Intel came out with the Core 2 Duo in 2006, but that's beside the point. Most computers out there were not brand new. So that was the problem. People were pissed off because Windows Vista demanded a much more powerful computer to run it, and in 2006 that wasn't really mainstream. Now, I think that Windows Vista, while the development was a clusterfuck and the release was maddening for a lot of people, let's say, I think Vista doesn't deserve a ton of the hate that it got. The only problem, it was just like a time and a circumstance thing. By the time Microsoft fixed Windows Vista, which was somewhere around 2008, 2009 with Service Pack 1 and Service Pack 2, no one cared. The computers during that time were getting faster, OEMs were adding dual-core processors, more memory to their computer, but in 2009 Windows 7 came out, and no one really cared about Windows Vista, and the stigma that went with Windows Vista stayed with it. And that is why Windows Vista failed completely. It was just a circumstance thing, the development was terrible, the timing was just wrong, and Windows 7 came out shortly after Microsoft finally figured it out, like 8 years in the making, when they released Service Pack 2. By that time no one cared. That was just kind of a little history lesson on Windows Vista and why it failed. Now we can get to the actual, we can get to some of the video. So this is a Dell Inspiron 8600. It is my Pentium M machine. It's got a 15-inch screen, a 1.5 gigahertz Pentium M, 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, and a 60 gig IDE hard drive. And I decided to install Windows Vista Ultimate on it just for nostalgia's sake. Some of you may remember, my very long-time viewers that watched me in the beginning, back in early 2010 I had a Dell Inspiron 8500, and I did end up installing Windows Vista Home Basic on it. And that was kind of a meh experience, but back then I was really impressed with the Windows Vista, and I'll get into my opinion on Vista currently once I'm done explaining, but I had a very high opinion of Windows Vista at the time. I was like 13 or 12, so I've been using Windows XP my whole life. So when I first used Windows Vista, I thought it was really good looking, and I didn't really mind that it was slower than XP. The thing is, though, like right now, my opinion on Vista is kind of wishy-washy. I do love the look of Windows Vista. I think it is the best looking Windows version that there is. It looks better than Windows 7, honestly. My opinion, it does look better. And these days, with Vista Service Pack 2 and Windows 7, there's really not much of a performance and stability difference there. They're kind of the same. So, that said though, there is really not a reason to use Vista Service Pack 2 over Windows 7 unless you have some sort of weird personal preference. With that being said, I decided to install it on this machine, and I am installing Service Pack 1 currently, and I'm going to install Service Pack 2 after that. And once I'm done with that, I guess we'll talk about how it runs on this computer. So Windows Vista Service Pack 1, I just installed it, and I'm using the computer a little bit. Windows Vista Service Pack 1 was released in 2008 for reference, and I already noticed that compared to the RTM, even on this old computer, the performance is much better. There is not any window lag that there was before with Windows Vista RTM. It just feels a little bit faster overall. So that's only with Service Pack 1, so I'm going to go ahead and install Service Pack 2, and we'll see how it goes. Well, looks like I have to activate Windows, but I'll do that. Anyway, there you are. Alrighty, Service Pack 2 has been installed. Now we can take a look at this computer. So, here we are in the System Properties window. You can see it right up there. Windows Vista Ultimate Service Pack 2. We're waiting for this to update, I think. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so we have a Pentium M, 1.5 gigahertz. It's an older Banyas Pentium M, so it's not really, the best, but there you are. Windows is activated. Use one of my keys, which is great. Moving into the Windows Experience Index, which is completely irrelevant and stupid nowadays. As you can see, there are the scores. So there you are, Windows Vista Service Pack 2. On this computer, it's a little laggy, of course, like I was getting to in the beginning of this video. Computers at this time were not really suited for Windows Vista, so as you can see, I move this window around. It's a little bit laggy. But, I mean, open and closing them, it's got a little bit of lag here and there, but it's definitely not as terrible as I was expecting. So there you are, Windows Vista Service Pack 2. I guess we can go ahead and launch the only program I have on it. See how that works. Tick-tock. This isn't, honestly though, launching programs, that really wasn't any faster or any slower than Windows XP was on this machine. So that's just to demonstrate that. If we do the arrow flip 3D thingy here, as you can see, there is some frame droppage, but the graphics card in this computer is an NVIDIA GeForce Go FX 5200, which I believe only has 64 megabytes of memory. So I don't think it's going to be 100% adequate. But like I said before, this thing is running better than I expected. Yeah, you can see dedicated video memory, 64 megabytes, and it has the WDDM driver, of course. So there you are. That's all I wanted to do. I want to wrap up this video now. To kind of conclude this video, Windows Vista, by the time Service Pack 2 hit the market and was installed, Windows Vista was very usable, and in this current form there isn't really much of a difference, like I said before, with performance and stability between Vista Service Pack 2 and Windows 7. But like I said previously, at this time it was too late. Windows 7 was about to hit the market, and Windows Vista fell into irrelevancy as Windows 7 was released. I hope you enjoyed this little video. I am not the best with my words. I'm not the best at talking, but I hope you found something interesting in this video. There you are, Windows Vista.